Hi, I'm Jack Canfield, your host for Talking About Success. Welcome back to our final episode tonight. And I have an amazing guest who's written one of the more interesting books I've ever read. It's called 3 Years in Ethiopia, How a Civil War and Epidemics Led Me to My Daughter. It's one of the more well-written memoirs that I've ever read. It's full of great insights as well as a really, you just keep turning the pages. So a little about my guest, Dr. Cornelia Davis. She prefers to be called Connie, so we'll call you Connie.
Thank you.
Is a renowned epidemiologist who's worked for more than 30 years in 20 African and Asian countries, stamping out disease outbreaks of smallpox, malaria, meningitis, HIV/AIDS, and avian flu. And I've heard some other things when we talked today. You were all over the place there. And no, really, you've dealt with everything. I love you. We'll just start with that. I think you're amazing. You're doing really good work. So I want to ask you the first question. How did you end up as an I think you trained epidemiologist. How did you, and I think you trained to be a pediatrician.
Yes,
was it?
I did 3 years residency in pediatrics at USC LA County Hospital. And it's actually after this episode in India. I was finishing up my pediatric residency, and I wanted to work 1 year overseas before settling down in clinical practice, do something for humanity. And I got this chance opportunity to work on the smallpox eradication program in India with WHO, with the World Health Organization. I mean, junior doctors never get to work with WHO. They always take experienced doctors from the countries that have worked for 30 years on a particular disease. But they needed young doctors that they could send up into these remote areas that had no amenities, no hotel, no restaurants, and who would follow the methodology. So these were areas that were not following the methodology, and they wanted it done because they wanted to eradicate a disease. So I was sent up. Well, they were a little hesitant because it was, for upcountry work, it was all male doctors. They hadn't really sent a woman doctor up, and so people weren't sure whether a woman would be able to do it. Of course we can. I went up, and you work in a team, so they give you a vehicle and a driver. My driver was Muslim. My nurse practitioner was Hindu. They didn't eat together because of a different caste system, and technically, I'm an unrelated female, so I was not supposed to be in close relationship with these two men. So it was highly unusual. It caused a lot of people's heads to turn. Everyone was interested in the lady epidemiologist and followed my every move.
And that changed your focus?
Yes, if you work, that's the first and so far only human disease that's been eradicated. It's an achievement of the 20th century, and you were just caught up in this kind of life-changing event. And after we did it and eradicated it in India, how can you go back to pediatrics? I was thinking, what other disease can I work on overseas, international public health? And that changed my whole focus.
Good for you. You've worked in 20 different countries.
Yes,
in Africa. You worked on preventing numerous infectious diseases all there. So you were in Ethiopia when the Civil War broke out. That was in 1990? What were you doing there, and how'd you get there? What happened? Because that's the essence of the book.
Well, that's the essence of that book. You have to understand, WHO is not going to send someone when there is a full-blown war going on. In 1990, there was, the capital was calm all around. The capital was calm. But there had been like 2 decades of fighting up in the most northern part of the country between the rebels who were in what is now Eritrea, wanted to succeed. They'd never come out of that area. There was this obscure war, but we were, a long way away from it. And somehow the rebels started winning against the government and rapidly descended and really took the UN by surprise. And they only had like 48 hours to try and evacuate 2,500 staff and family members to get them out to Nairobi. And it was just very difficult to do. So there wasn't a full-blown war in 1990, but by April of 91, the rebels had gotten really close. And I volunteered to stay and work at the WHO Emergency Preparedness and Response Center. I just had a feeling, I had an ulterior motive. I wanted to adopt an infant in Ethiopia. I was always mistaken for Ethiopian in the States, and I'd say, no, I'm American. And single women who wanted to adopt at that time in the States, you know, they told older women, I was older, that you would not be able to get an infant, that you'd have to take an older child, and that probably they would have a disability. But I'm working overseas. Everyone in your family has to pass the physical, and they're not going to send someone that needs specialized care. So it's like, well, I guess I'm not going to get an infant in the States. Let me look elsewhere. So I just figured when everything's falling apart, that's probably when an infant will suddenly appear. And that's what happened. Rebels came into town, and they found a 3-month-old infant girl on the steps of St. George's Cathedral, and they brought her to Black Lion Hospital, where the head of peds always knew, I mean, had been given permission to look for an infant. And he called me, you know, at 6 a.m. Dr. Davis? And I said, yeah. He said, there's an infant. The nurses are calling her Konjit, which means beautiful in Amharic. And I said, what infant? He said, Dr. Davis, there is an infant girl here. I think you need to come to the hospital. So I said, okay, I'm on my way. And when I saw her, I thought, this is the one. Yep, she's my daughter. So unfortunately, WHO 2 days later told me I needed to evacuate to Geneva, to leave immediately. And I thought, well, wait a minute. You know, I haven't had time to adopt her. How am I going to get her out? That's in the story. I think people should read how I got her out.
No, it's great. Now, there was an you have a picture of an explosion on the cover of the book. Talk about that.
Okay. Well, what happens here is that the government forces obviously had lost the battle. The rebels are in town, and so they want to destabilize the new government. And so nobody knew that the government had an underground depot, ammunition depot, in the city. And so when they were leaving, they threw these grenades in to make the explosion. And, you know, when I saw that explosion, the first thing is they were trying to make the big gasoline tanks blow up that are above ground. And there was a huge fire, which woke me up from the rental home I was in, because all of a sudden at 2 a.m, your house is like it's lit up. And I thought, what is going on? So I went outside, and there's this huge flame, and I thought we were under curfew. Do not leave your house before 7 a.m. So I thought, we're going to get burned up. And then there was this explosion, and I thought, the Ethiopian government has an atomic bomb? I mean, that's the first thing that looked like it, an atomic bomb. I can't believe it. And then I thought, Davis, you're stupid. Why are you watching this? There's going to be a huge force, you know. And the next thing I knew, I was on the ground, the roof of my house, all of the windows and shutters were blown out. And I thought, whoa. And then all these rockets are coming out. And I thought, I'm finished here. This is like, wow, I'm not getting out of this one, you know.
Well, as I was reading through the book, I haven't read the whole thing, but I've read quite a bit of it. And it's a page turner for starters. I think you're an excellent writer, and won't give away what happens to the book because we want people to read it. But I think all of us, as we were sitting around talking about this, went, "This has to be a movie." It's that good. It's that powerful. It has all the elements of self-awareness, what's going on, in the world, your own journey to adopt your daughter, and the chaos of civil war going on, and it's really well written. It's I highly recommend you read this book, 3 Years in Ethiopia. And you're also now available as a speaker. You speak about, let's talk about your speaking topic for a minute, because you talk about it's like risk and regret. So talk about that.
Well, I think what I'd like people to take away from the book is that you need to listen to your intuition. You need to follow that gut feeling of what should I do? Do I stay? Do I go? And that if you follow your intuition, then there will be times when you need to take risk, calculated risk. But it's better, risking is better than regretting. At the end of life, the main thing that people are, when they are asked, do you regret anything? It's that they didn't take opportunities, they didn't take risk. And so, they'll never know what could have happened if they had done that. So I think that, for me, yes, you get out of your comfort zone, but it's really important to take risk so that you don't end up regretting that I should have done something, with my life. And I think that everyone is presented challenges. What do you do with those challenges? How do you make them opportunities? Well, you're going to have to move out of your comfort zone in order to face those challenges.
Now, if someone wanted to hire you, I think your story is inspirational. There's a lot of wisdom in it. It's inspiring, it's uplifting, it's motivating. Where would they find you? How do they contact you if they wanted to bring you in as a speaker?
Well, you can go on my website, which is www.corneliaedavismd.com. And on the website, it will give you various ways of how to contact me for speaking engagements, where I'm primarily talking about determine what you want to do, and it takes persistence and follow through, and it's not going to always immediately occur, but if you want something, like I wanted to adopt an infant, and so I was willing to stay there because I felt she's going to be coming anytime soon. And this chaos, it's bound to happen. So don't leave, and she did arrive,
Right.
And she's 28 years old now.
And doing well.
And doing well, yes.
Very good,
yes.
Very good. Well, I think you're, I don't know the word I want to say, but you're one of those iconic people who's lived an amazingly adventurous but also impactful and powerful life, and now you're sharing that with other people, how their life can also be one where they actually live the life of their dreams as well, and not look back on their deathbed and go, oh, I regret I didn't do that. So good for you.
For me, it's also been uplifting to work in international public health and to know that you've really made a difference in people's lives, that that providing vaccinations, that preventing those illnesses that we can, working on malaria, HIV/AIDS, the avian influenza. I just retired right before Ebola came out.
Good time.
Yeah, good timing there. But it's been a really great life.
Right. And I think what's exciting about that is I think people have not gotten there yet will read about or hear you speak about your life and realize I can have that same kind of life if I choose to. Maybe different, not in medicine, not in Asia or Africa or whatever, but that it's possible to live a life that matters, that's fulfilling, and that takes you to where you want to go.
You need to be open to opportunities. That's the thing. You can't be closed. You need to be looking for those opportunities and taking those risks.
Very good, very good. Well, at the very least, get a copy of this book and read it. And then if you want to have a speaker that can inspire, uplift, and empower your audiences, please go to her website. I think you'll be very happy you did. So thanks for watching this week, and we'll be back next week with another Talking About Success. Until then, have a great life.